people, and welcome to my space. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time, I hope you love it here so that you just keep coming back, My name is Kayla. You can call me Kay, and I'm a storyteller and content creator. I create content around what self-care and self-preservation look like for me and for people that look like me, including Black people, women, and I speak to Black women in particular. So this past year, I was able to finally monetize my Instagram, which was a huge blessing in the middle of a pandemic, a panoramic, a Panic at the Disco. So I'm excited to be able to just share some of the things that I did, how I got started, how I was able to monetize, and then even some things that I would have done differently if I had known what I know now. So I'm glad to be able to create this little resource for you guys in the form of a video. I asked my Instagram community what questions you had about me and how I started to monetize my Instagram as a content creator, and I got a bunch that kind of overlapped, so I was able to distill those questions down into 12 questions for the sake of keeping this video short and sweet but still valuable. So that being said, I'm going to answer the questions, but if you have additional questions or follow-up questions, ask me in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram, or let me know if you want me to make another video about something else and go more in depth. So it was a huge blessing that I was able to work with some brands, including Nike and Neutrogena, some well-known iconic brands this year. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, head over there and go ahead and follow me. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep up with each other. And without further ado, let's just get into the questions. The first question is, how did you start creating content? I started creating content, lifestyle-focused content, when I moved from Mississippi to California back in summer 2017. I just started posting what I was doing, where I was going, what I was eating, the festivals, the marches I was going to, all these cool things that my community at home wasn't super familiar with, and people just really wanted to follow along on my journey, so they were really interested in seeing what I had to say and what I was posting. So it kind of feels like I started creating content. The first two steps were creating the content, putting the content out there, because there's a difference between creating and posting, but that's another conversation. I was creating and posting, and I was creating community because my community was interested and invested in seeing what I was doing. So as far as getting started and creating content, the most important tip I can give you is to study the craft. So it's just if you want to be good at basketball, you're going to practice, you're going to study. If you want to be good at music, you're going to study those notes, you're going to practice that instrument. It's the same thing with content creation and creativity, because it's like a muscle. And if you don't practice, if you don't move that muscle, strengthen that muscle, you might lose it. It might not advance as fast as you want to. So definitely invest time and resources, and sometimes money, into learning the craft, learning how to create. And this is a good start because you're here at this free resource in this video, and I'm just trying to give you as much valuable as I can. So the next question is, did I hire a brand specialist to get me started? So the answer to that is super simple. No, I did not. I have a background in marketing and advertising. That's been my 9-to-5 since I graduated from college in 2017, and that's my background in undergrad. Also, my first love was writing, so I've always been a writer, a storyteller. I used to journal since I was a kid. I read fantasy books like Harry Potter, so storytelling kind of comes naturally. I was able to kind of start training my eye to find the beauty in the little things, and that's what I think makes my content interesting, is that I can just find the beauty in something little, capture it with my iPhone and put it on the internet. So it was a lot of training myself and my eye and practicing. Practicing makes perfect. Additionally, I did a lot of inner work to just figure out who I am, what I stand for, what I want to say, who I want to be. And so once I got more confident in who I am as a person, I was able to just figure out how to communicate that to other people through content, words, videos, photos, etc. So I didn't need a branding specialist to get me started, but I 100% believe in outsourcing. You don't have to be the expert in everything. If branding is not your expertise, if all you want to do is create hair videos, that's what you're good at, that's your expertise, then 100% hire someone to help you brand and help you pull it all together and package up your skills in who you are, and then figure out how to communicate it. Third question, I get asked this so much. How did you come up with your aesthetic? First of all, my aesthetic is my life. So it's easy to maintain because I am who I am on and offline. So it was easy for me, like back to the self-discovery thing. Once I discovered that I wanted to be super intentional about living my life, it was easy for me to say, okay, so I'm going to create content around intentional living, around self-love, self-awareness, self-preservation, self-care. So that was like the beginning. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So after that, it was just about, okay, how can I communicate this to people? So if I can break down 3 ways to come up with your aesthetic, it would be 1, know yourself, know your message, know your story. What's your story? For me, I am a 20-something black girl trying to figure out life, trying to heal from trauma, trying to do the best that I can, and trying to take care of myself, trying to create beautiful moments where I can just be and not be overwhelmed with everything going on in the world, because it's a lot, okay? So the next thing, number 2, is to establish content pillars. These are the buckets or the content buckets that you're going to create around and storytell around. So because my message is about self-care, my content pillars are about how I self-care. So that's through things like hair care, skincare, travel, because travel is self-care for me, in the home. So like creating spaces that just fill me up, keep me at peace, and feel good. It's all about feeling good over here. Okay, so the third thing to finding your aesthetic is to create an editing style. So this is how you stay consistent and keep the posts in your feed looking consistent and looking good together. So that a way that you can do this is editing with the same types of filters, shooting the same colors, what else? And even like the lighting of when you create your content. So for me, that looks like shooting earth tones and nudes. That's my life. That's what I like. If you look around my apartment, that's all I have. That's what I wear. I don't wear pink and purple. I wear brown and tan and olive green and black. Okay, so I shoot with those colors, and then I shoot all of my content in the daytime. I like natural light. I don't like harsh lights. I don't like ring lights. I don't like studio lighting. I don't like nighttime. That's how I keep consistency in my feed, and those 3 things are how you make an aesthetic. And I can talk about aesthetics all day. I love talking about that because I just geek out at like colors and shapes and putting things together and making things look pretty. I get so much inspiration from like magazines and architecture, and just, yeah, I can talk about it all day, but let me know if y'all want me to make an additional video on how to find your aesthetic, and we can go into some detail and we can have some examples, so let me know. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. The next question, number 4, is how did I get my first brand partnership, and did they reach out to me or did I reach out to them? So my first brand partnership was inbound, meaning that they reached out to me. So that being said, before that I had had a lot of brands reach out to me. So one thing that I've noticed is that rarely a brand's going to be like, hey, we have this idea for you, we would love to have you, let's give you a lot of money. It don't really work like that. They'll reach out and they'll say, hey, we have this, are you down? And at that point, it's your turn to advocate for yourself. So one thing about my first partnership that I didn't do with my others is I said, I had like enough confidence because I was connected. I knew someone at the brand department of the company who connected me with the influencer department in the company. So because I had a connection in already, I felt comfortable with saying, do you have a budget for this campaign or for this partnership? And that's really what started changing everything once I started asking those questions. Do you have a budget? It's a nice way of saying, is this paid or are you just trying to gift me something? Because if they have a budget, they'll come back and say they have a budget, and at that point you can start negotiating. You're never going to know if the opportunity is paid unless you ask. So ask, do you have a budget for these deliverables that you've outlined below? Do you have a budget for this partnership? Because at the end of the day, you'll never know if you could have turned a gifted opportunity into a paid one if you don't ask. That's it, sis. Hair check. So number 5, how did you go from making dope content to actually getting paid to make dope content? Great question. Again, it goes back to the last question. Ask if they have a budget for the deliverables. Very, very important. That's how I started getting paid. I started asking brands if they had a budget for the deliverables that they wanted me to create. What I didn't know at first when starting out was about negotiating. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know how to start asking for more. I wasn't comfortable with doing any of those things, but now I know that there are so many factors that go into what I should be getting paid for something. So instead of just asking what the budget for the deliverables are, I'll ask additional questions like, what are the deliverables? What's the budget? Does the brand want content usage rights? Because content usage rights are another charge on top of you creating the content. Also, exclusivity. So is the brand a skincare brand that only wants you to work with them for 2 months? You could be missing out on another bag because you're committed to this brand. So make sure you factor that into your rate. Those are things that I have been learning as I've been going, but key. When you ask for a budget, ask for all of those things before you give a rate. This is like a fancy word for a contract called the scope of work. So before you give your rate, ask the brand to send you the scope of work, or to outline what the scope of work is, including usage rights, exclusivity, a bunch of other things, but we can chat about that more later. Next question, number 6. I still can't find a niche. What's the secret? Sis, there is no secret. You just don't need a niche. You don't need a niche. I feel like the concept of niche is not super relevant because you have influencers who are lifestyle influencers that, just like myself, who just share what they do like in their life, in their story, and people gravitate that because people want to keep up, people want to follow your journey, and people want the tips and the information that you share. So that doesn't have to be specific to one thing. Unless you want it to be, you can absolutely do that. So my thing is just like start with the messaging and the story, figure out who you are and how you want to tell that story. So if you're a college student who likes to dress on a budget, that's your story, right? You're a college student who likes to get cute in the most affordable ways possible because you're going to college and you're broke. So you create content around like how to find affordable finds online, how to thrift, how to put thrifting outfits together, cheap ways to find formal dresses, etc. And then you sprinkle in other things about college life because people are going to be interested. Once they get invested in you, they want to know everything you do. Like if you post a video of your outfit and in the background you have like a cute painting, people are going to say, where'd you get that painting from? So just roll with it. You don't have to have a niche. Just tell the story. And to finish up, I feel like there's this idea of oversaturation. Like there's too many people doing the same thing. There are too many influencers. There are too many bloggers. And that is BS. Because even if there are 100 people that can do the same thing you do in the same way that you, in a similar way that you do it, 95 of those people are not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So you should be one of the 5 people that does it, and you should do it in your way, and people are going to gravitate towards you. I don't make the rules. Okay, number 7, tips on securing brand partnerships. Share them. So I'm at your service. There are several ways that you can get brand partnerships. This includes inbound, so when they reach out to you. Pitching, so when you pitch an idea or yourself to a brand. And then there are influencer networks. So there are influencer networks where you can sign up and be put in a database. And this is how you can secure brand partnerships through the database. It essentially connects you with brands. So it's an easy way to get started on trying to figure out how to work with people without reaching out directly. So examples of these include like Aspire IQ, Linkia, Isaiah. There's tons of them, tons. So just Google like influencer networks or influencer agencies and figure out how you can sign up and take the leap. Other tips I have on getting brand partnerships is get the brand's attentions that you want to work with. So like if you want to work with certain brands, like I have this one hair brand that I really want to work with, and every time I use their products I tag them like in my Instagram stories and my in-feed posts, and they've noticed me. So they'll like my post, they'll repost my post, and they've also been in my DMs. So you never know what you might see this year. But yes, like get their attention. They love that. And once you get on their radar and your content's good and they have an idea coming up, like we have this campaign, we need influencers quick because things move quickly sometimes, and you'll come to mind. Like you want to always be on people's radars, and you want your content to be good enough so that when they're ready, you're ready. Stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. Also, another way is to use relevant hashtags. So you want to be at the right place at the right time, because again, when brands are searching for influencers to partner with, they use hashtags. So when you hashtag beauty blogger, hashtag SF blogger, hashtag LA blogger, hashtag all that stuff. Like be strategic about your hashtags. If you're posting a picture in a cute outfit, don't just like hashtag fashion, because the fashion hashtag has millions of hashtags. Be strategic. Think about your audiences and how your audience, you have two audiences when you're a creator and you want to get paid. You have two audiences. One is your community, the people that follow you, and your potential community, so the potential people that are going to follow you. That's one. And then it's the brands that you want to work with. So you want to make sure when you're creating, you're trying to reach both of those audiences, and those are similar in different ways, but that's just super important. Like be strategic about your hashtags and think about how your audiences are searching for content, because hashtags are essentially a way to search. So think about it like Google, but Instagram. Number 8, when should I start reaching out to brands? This is pretty simple. Reach out to brands when you feel like your content is worth paying for. I would not recommend posting twice a month. If you want to make a career out of creating content, I would recommend being more consistent. I would recommend creating content that appeals to both of your audiences. You want to make sure, that your audience is engaged, because when brands come to your page, if you have beautiful content, that's a great start. But you also want to make sure people are liking and commenting, and that you're commenting back, you're creating community, because essentially the brand is not just paying for your content. The brand is paying for access to your audience. So make sure that what you're putting out there is engaging, and you're creating community. That's important. Number 9, did you start shooting ad-led content before monetization? How did you decide on brands? These are great questions. Essentially, brands that want to work with you and want to pay you, the ones that want to pay you in particular, they want to be able to seamlessly integrate into your content. So if it's a skincare brand, they want to see that you have talked about skincare before, and they also want to see that when you talk about skincare, your audience is engaged. So this goes back to the previous question about creating content for both audiences. You want to make sure your content is engaging and appealing, so that brands want to pay you for your content and for access to your audience. That's super important. As far as deciding on brands to work with, I only work with people that align with my story. So again, a brand wants to seamlessly integrate into my story, but I also want to seamlessly integrate them into my story, because I don't want my audience to be like, whoa, what is this? Like, I say no so much. I probably say yes like 15% of the time. And even then, like, I felt like at one point I was so overwhelmed with the deliverables for brand partnerships that I didn't even have time to create organically. So something that I would do different is I would have said no more earlier on, so that I didn't feel like I had to do all these things for all these like at once. So something I would be more strategic about in the future is limiting the amount of partnerships that I have, and just making them super intentional, because intention is at the base of everything that I do, and I feel like it's important to be successful and to be consistent, and for your audience to stick around and keep rocking with you. Number 10, how do you get partnerships with well-known brands? You gotta pitch. Like, come up with a way to package yourself into a beautiful 1 or 2 sheeter, like a 1 sheeter or a 3 slide PowerPoint deck that introduces who you are with your story. This is called a media kit. Who you are with your story, show examples of the content that you create, and talk about your audience. They want to know who they're getting access to. Pitch to brands. Me to me. Pitch to brands. That's my goal. in the next few months is to really establish a pitching process and be able to pitch to the brands that I really, really, really want to work with. Like, I love working with small brands and startups and up and coming brands. I love that because it's like I can grow with the brand and I can create really strong relationships with those brands. But I'm gonna get into pitching, and you should too. What kind of equipment and apps do you use? I get this question a lot, so let's break it down. I shoot most of my content, and when I say most, like 93%, excuse me, 93% of my content right now with my iPhone 11. Before that, it was the iPhone 8. Before that, it was the iPhone 6 or whatever. So your iPhone is right there. Just like create with it. You can do it. And once you just come up with your editing style, you have your content pillars down, like the creation part is going to just flow. When I don't use my iPhone, I use my Nikon D5600. Do not recommend. If I had known now, I would not have bought it because I really love the idea that it has a flip screen and I can see myself when I'm recording video, but it doesn't have Bluetooth, and that's just really interferes with things that I have to do, like remote controls. But I do use my Nikon, and I have to learn more about photography before I can upgrade. That's my promise to myself. I also have a memory card reader. Yo, this is so important because it's just a little thingy, and you stick in your memory card from your camera. So if you get content on your camera and you stick it into your phone, and you can directly import photos. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth required. So this is super helpful if you're like out in the middle of the Sahara Desert and you want to post on Instagram real quick, or you want to edit real quick. You can just like take the memory card and stick that into your phone. Highly recommend. And then my tripod and my remote. I have like a 4-pack of remotes because once I got caught slipping, I lost my remote and I had to shoot a brand campaign. So now I have like 3 extras at once. I'll link in the box the link to my Amazon store where I have all these things listed, and you can just grab them there. As far as editing and the apps that I use so many apps. I have a whole app library dedicated to editing. I mostly use Lightroom, Visco. In Lightroom, I like create my own process and I edit really well myself now after so much practice. Lightroom, Visco, Prequel, View, InShot, Tezza. I'm probably forgetting a lot, but those are probably my main ones that I use for editing videos, photos, stories, and Unfold stories, and yeah, all that content. As far as, I also plan my feed with Planoly, so it's I'm able to upload pictures before I post them to Instagram to see how they will look on my feed. I can move them around, make sure the colors look good, make sure everything is aesthetically pleasing. But I'm also going to try Later because I've heard great things about Later, and Later has a partnership with Instagram directly, so they probably have more cool features. So that's how I plan content. And number 12, last but not least of the questions for this video, what are strategic ways to grow your Instagram? I love this question because we're all out here trying to figure it out, because growing is hard, so it seems. But a lot of ways, some ways that I do this is a hashtag strategy. So like I talked on before, make sure you're being strategic with your hashtags and acting like they're a search engine, because they are. So you want to be at the right places at the right time. So use your hashtags strategically. Also create shareable content. So create things that are pretty and relatable so that people want to share them to their story, or that people want to repost them on their pages. Those are super easy ways to get in front of new audiences, because even if your content is amazing and fire, you won't grow unless you get in front of new people. That's important. I have notes here. Test and learn. So test and learn different types of content. You might think your content loves something, like your audience loves something, but you won't know unless you put it out there and you see. You test and learn, you tweak it, you come back, you do it again. So test and learn. Don't be scared to do that. And engage with people. You are not a celebrity. You don't have 7 million followers just because. So engage with your community. Creating community is so important, because those are the people, like those people that comment on your posts, that like your posts, that be in your DMs. they're going to ride with you till the wheels fall off. Those are going to be like your core folks, and you need core folks. Like, especially as you grow and as you build your community, like, make sure you engage. And even like if you're bored, you probably, I don't know if you're ever bored, but like, be strategic about Instagram. So like when you use certain hashtags, go and just search for the hashtag. Like if you use Black Girls Who Blog, go through that hashtag, go and comment and like other people's photos, follow them, and just keep like engaging, because Instagram loves that. When you're on Instagram, the more you're on there and engaging, the more Instagram is going to show you love and boost your content. It's the algorithm, it's the game, you know. So those are all the questions that I had for this Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in it. Just a couple of closing thoughts to kind of wrap all this up and put a bow on it. First step, understand who you are, know your story, know what you want to say. It doesn't have to be a niche. It can just be your story. Who you are, how you can add value to people. And then create and post. Like if you create and it's just sitting in your phone, it's not helping you. You have to create and post, okay? Those are important. Just understand that you have two different audiences. You have an audience of your community, the people that follow you and the people that you want to follow you. And then you also have the brands that you want to work with. So you have to make sure as you're creating, you're appealing to both these audiences. And it might take some trial and error, some test and learn, but it'll be helpful in the long run, because brands want to seamlessly integrate into your content and who you are. So have them in mind when you're creating. Lastly, just learn the craft. Anything you want to be good at. If you want to be the LeBron, the Beyonce, whatever, learn the craft, study, practice, and you'll do great. So sending you all the love and all the light, and I hope that you have a fabulous week ahead, a happy new year, and thank you for kicking it with me. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for being here with me. I'm Kay, and sending you love and light. Bye until next time.